Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Aldas, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about drivers going into the second half of the season under pressure. Now, that is it. Pretty much the summer break is now over. It is, of course, the Belgium Grand Prix this weekend. Formula 1 is returning, and I'm just so happy about that. Every single year, it is fantastic to finish the summer break and come back, and especially to Spa, because it is a brilliant circuit. Proper old school, one of the only really old school tracks left on the calendar, but I'll be talking about more about the race preview in my race preview video, which will probably be out on Wednesday, so don't forget to check that out. But nevertheless, in this video, like I said, we're going to be talking about drivers under pressure. I'm going to be talking about 5 drivers who are going into the second half of the season looking for a result, or really just fighting for their drive, basically, and for different reasons. These are not, drivers that have all the same motivations and everything like that. Some drivers just need that first result to really get their season just up and running. Some of them are fighting for their seat, and I'm going to be, like I said, talking about 5 drivers in this video. Now, guys, don't forget, if you do enjoy the content on my channel and want to see more, don't forget to drop a like, smash that subscribe button, and check out my social media. Instagram and Twitter will be above. But guys, let's get into it. Now guys, the first driver I'm going to be talking about is Robert Kubica of Course Racing at Williams. Now, it's very difficult to gauge how Robert has been in his return to Formula 1. Just really quickly, Robert coming back was an amazing story. He went through a horrible crash, and to actually make it back to Formula 1 in 2019 was just an incredible achievement, just standing alone by itself. So what he's done is incredible, but this season it has looked like he has struggled. He has been thoroughly beaten by his rookie teammate George Russell, but all we can take away is looking at the results. I mean, he's been beaten in qualifying 12-0. George Russell's already won the qualifying battle, in the first half of the season, so that is already a big negative for Robert. He has not been that quick in qualifying, which is a shame because he was actually a very quick qualifier in his first career. In terms of the races and in terms of the points is where it gets interesting. George Russell has outperformed Robert Kubica in 10 of the 12 races, so of course it is 10-2 to George Russell, but in terms of the points, of course, we all know that in Germany, it was Robert Kubica who got Williams' first point of the season. After those Alfa Romeos, both of them got demoted out of the points, and it was Robert Kubica who snuck in that 10th place and got that first point. But kind of similar to how, in my opinion, it is in Racing Point with Lance Stroll, just because, he has more points, in terms of Robert Kubica I'm talking about, just because Robert has that 1 point does not mean he's had a good season. I think George Russell, like I said, he's had Robert in his pocket, and for Robert, I think the big struggles have been in the races, even though he tends to qualify, 3 or 4 tenths away from his teammate, which is not good, but in the races, he does tend to just drop off quite a bit throughout the race, and that's been a big shame. He's struggled with the car, the balance of the car, he's just not been comfortable, and there's even been some ridiculous just conspiracy theories that they've got different cars, which I do not believe for a second. But looking ahead for Robert Kubica, he is under pressure. I don't think he will be in Formula 1 in 2020, and that's fine, because to me, by the way guys, I am a massive Robert Kubica fan, not ashamed to admit it, because I really did enjoy watching him in his early career, and looking, like I said, at 2020, I don't think he'll be in Formula 1. I think Nicholas Latifi will be in that Williams next year, but to me that's okay, because I think Robert, in terms of pressure, it's mostly from the fans, and he has got a massive fan base, there's no doubt about it, and that's where the pressure is mostly coming from, from the fans, not just his, but all Formula 1 fans. When they see him struggling at the back of the grid, that's where most of the pressure is coming from. So in terms of the second part of the year, I think all he needs to focus on is just getting a little bit closer to George Russell, especially in qualifying. I think that is his number one weakness at the moment. We have seen that in a few races, he has done quite well. He did actually have a very good race in Monaco until he got crashed out by Giovinazzi. He was actually ahead of George Russell and could have finished 15th or 16th, so that would have been a very big result for him, but it just has not clicked for him. Nevertheless, he does still go away after the first half of the season, scoring that 1 point, and like I said, in terms of the second half of the season, I think for him the target is just to get a little bit closer to George Russell and just leave at the end of the year on a high, because in my opinion, he was a fantastic driver, and his comeback was just remarkable as well. But nevertheless, I think Robert will leave at the end of 2019, but I think what he's done is incredible. It's just a shame that the results weren't as good as we all hoped. Now guys, the next driver or drivers that I'm actually going to talk about, because I'm going to talk about them together, are both of the Haas boys, Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen. Now initially I was just going to talk about Romain Grosjean, but to be honest, when I actually looked at his results a lot more closer, I've got to admit that it's actually a lot closer than I really anticipated. Kevin Magnussen, despite having that points lead, the 10-point lead that he has over Romain Grosjean, he has actually not just been completely running away and mugging Romain off. We know Haas in 2019, they've struggled a lot, and both of these drivers have so much needle this year. We've seen them come together in Spain, in Germany, in Silverstone. I mean, it's just been a horrible season for Haas, plus their whole rich energy situation. I mean, and now, of course, their seats are under threat massively, because I'm pretty sure Gunther Steiner is looking at that lineup and thinking that he cannot go on in 2020. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that this will not be the lineup at Haas for 2020, but when looking at the drivers, they are both really under pressure, especially I suppose Romain Grosjean. Loads of people have been saying that this could be his final year in Formula 1. Loads of people think that Kevin Magnussen perhaps will just perhaps stay in Haas because of course there's a bit of continuity there, the team already know him, so a completely different driver lineup sometimes just unsettles the team a little bit too much. So a lot of people are saying that it is Kevin Magnussen who's going to stay, but when looking at their head-to-head, it is very close. It is not actually as clear-cut as most people think. In terms of their qualifying, it is 7-5 to Kevin Magnussen. In terms of their races, it is 6-5 to Kevin Magnussen. So very close. However, Romain Grosjean has had 6 DNFs. He has had 6 DNFs in 12 races. So actually, I don't think Romain Grosjean has had an incredibly bad season as most people are saying, and certainly that I thought he had. You know, when actually looking closer at the results, I think it's much more even than people think. It's just the fact that when the points were available, it was Kevin Magnussen who just managed to finish in the higher positions. But again, both of these drivers are massively under pressure. They are looking for that one result to try and bring Haas a little bit further up the table. Haas have been struggling with their car, and now their drivers, of course, up against each other, less fighting for the team and more just fighting against each other because they are fighting for their seat. So as much as it is a pain in the backside to see Gunther Steiner, or for Gunther Steiner to see these drivers, you know, battle each other so hard, they are fighting against each other for that seat. And in the second half of the season, to be honest, I don't see it changing. You know, a lot of people think that it's all calm and everything. I see more fireworks between these two because the closer we get to an announcement of the lineup, I think the more we're going to see between these two drivers because they both want to stay. And as far as, I mean, Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen, yeah, their job is pretty simple. Just beat their teammate. That is what they're going to be thinking in the back of their minds if they want to stay at Haas. But undoubtedly, two drivers, probably the two biggest drivers under pressure, Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen. And also, guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think is going to be Haas's lineup in 2020? Let me know. Now, guys, the next driver I'm going to talk about is Sebastian Vettel. Now, he is under pressure, in my opinion, for a completely different reason to Robert Kubica or Magnussen or Grosjean. His seat is, of course, absolutely safe. Even though there have been rumours that he might retire, I think there's just no way. Vettel is still a quality driver at the top of his game. He's just been making, yes, a few mistakes the past year. And I think for him, the pressure comes in the fact that he has not won a race in 1 year. I mean, it's almost incredible to think the last time Sebastian Vettel in a competitive Ferrari, by the way, has won was in the Belgian Grand Prix in 2018, this time last year. So yeah, it's just ridiculous to even kind of think that. But yeah, he has not won a race in a year, and it's not like he hasn't had the opportunity. I mean, there was plenty of times that he could have took it at the end of 2018, and there has been plenty of times at the start of 2019 where he could have got a win as well. You know, I'm thinking, of course, in Bahrain, in Canada, and maybe a few other races as well, maybe if a bit more luck went his way. So he is under pressure to try and get that first result for Ferrari. It's incredible to think that Sebastian Vettel, fourth in the Drivers' Championship, you know, 24 points ahead of his teammate, and I think 25 behind Max Verstappen. Ferrari have still not had their first win this season. It's quite incredible, to be honest. And I think for Seb, his confidence has not been very high. He has ended the season quite well. I mean, he had a good result in Hungary with third, and then another great result, actually, of course, in Germany, fighting from 20th to second. But I think he is under pressure quite a lot from Ferrari to get their first win of the season. The car is good enough, but they have just been completely tripping over their own shoelaces. So I think for Sebastian Vettel, he just needs that one result. He just needs that first win to settle the team and perhaps just build upon 2019. So hopefully in 2020 they actually start the season much better and actually challenge for the titles. So yeah, as much as I don't think Sebastian Vettel, you know, he's not under pressure because of his seat, he's under pressure because the team should be performing and they're not. And I think they're looking to him, their four-time world champion, to try and get that first win, to raise the team spirits. So yeah, I think there's going to be a very big monkey on the back of Sebastian Vettel's shoulders for him to get that first win. And you know, looking at these first two tracks, Spa and Monza, those two are very good tracks for Ferrari. So yeah, pressure on him for sure. And guys, the last driver I'm going to talk about is also, might be a bit of a weird one for you guys, and it is Alexander Albon. Now again, he is under pressure in my opinion for a completely different reason once again. He is under pressure, of course, because he's in a bit of a shootout for the 2020 Red Bull seat. Obviously, he's just been launched. This has been the big news over the summer. Alexander Albon swapped with Pierre Gasly going into that Red Bull for the Belgian Grand Prix. And for him, I think the big pressure is the fact that if he just doesn't do that well in the second half of the season, and yes, I know that he is in a very hard hard situation, you know, halfway through a season up against Max Verstappen. I mean, what can you expect? But as a driver, when you're given this opportunity, you just need to grab it by the scruff of the neck and just do the absolute best that you can. So for him, the pressure comes from the fact that he needs to deliver quite quickly, not just because obviously he's in that shootout for the Red Bull seat for 2020, but personally, you know, if he just gets that seat off right away, and you never know, guys, he might even get a win this season. I mean, how incredible would that be? I mean, that would absolutely certify him the seat for 2020. So I think he's going to have quite a lot of pressure on himself. He will want to deliver. I know that he is a driver who can make a few mistakes. We've seen already this season, he's had a few crashes there and there, a bit of an experience, but again, guys, you know, he's only had half a season of Formula 1, and he's been launched into the top team in terms of Red Bull. I don't remember the last time this happened to a driver this soon. I mean, maybe Lewis Hamilton because he started in a winning team, but Max Verstappen took over a year, Pierre Gasly took a year, Charles Leclerc took a year, so we have not seen a driver this inexperienced and this quickly get launched up to the top team. So there's definitely pressure on his shoulders, but nevertheless, I think he'll do just fine. I am really looking forward to seeing how he'll be able to do. I think he will be able to grab a podium at some point. I think he is a very quick driver, and he's definitely impressed me. I mean, he easily held his own against Neewer, and in that Red Bull, well, like I said, guys, it's all down to him. The pressure is on him now. If he delivers, he gets that seat for 2020, and you never know. Up against Max Verstappen, if he really develops, well, I'm going to leave it to you guys. How well do you think Alexander Albon will do in the second half of 2019? Let me know in the comments below, guys. But anyway, guys, there you go. That is my 5 drivers who I think are under pressure going into the second half of 2019. I tried to pick different drivers and all for different reasons of why I think they are under pressure going into the second half of the season, just to make it, you know, interesting. So it's not just drivers that might be losing their seat, but also let me know in the comments below, who do you think is under pressure going into the second half of 2019? I can't wait to see what you guys think. And like I said, Formula 1 is back. There are so many unanswered questions left, and I cannot wait to get into the Belgium Grand Prix. Anyway, guys, hope you did enjoy the video, and if you did, don't forget to drop a like, smash that subscribe button, and check out my social medias. Instagram and Twitter will be above. But anyway, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.